Fear is the most expensive prison in the world, and I have watched countless men and women lock themselves inside it. Every day, fear robs us of opportunity, of health, of joy, and most people allow it. But let me tell you something I have discovered in my years of teaching and observing human nature. Fear is nothing more than a trick of the mind. It looks terrifying. It feels overwhelming. But once you shine the light of action upon it, it disappears. I want you to imagine for just a moment what your life would look like without fear. Imagine speaking your mind without hesitation. Imagine sleeping peacefully at night, free from anxious thoughts. Imagine saying yes to opportunity instead of shrinking back from it. That life is not a fantasy. It is possible. Over the years, I've studied thousands of people, and I've learned 5 timeless lessons that can set you free from fear. They are not theories. They are not abstract ideas. They are practical steps that ordinary men and women have used to transform their lives. Stay with me, and I will share these 5 lessons with you. If you not only listen, but apply them, you will never again be ruled by fear. One of the greatest discoveries I have ever made about fear is this: the more you run from it, the bigger it becomes. Fear feeds on avoidance. The moment you turn your back, it grows, it multiplies, and it begins to control every corner of your mind. But the instant you face it, when you look it directly in the eye, fear begins to shrink. I have seen it time and time again. Ordinary men and women, terrified of speaking in public, of starting a business, of standing up for themselves, the moment they stepped toward the thing they feared, their chains began to break. Let me tell you something from my own experience as a teacher. When I first began speaking, I was nervous. My palms would sweat, my heart would pound, and I thought everyone could see right through me. I asked myself, how can I possibly stand on a stage and speak with confidence when fear has such a grip on me? But then I learned a secret. Fear loses its power when you stop running. Instead of avoiding speeches, I sought them out. I faced audiences again and again. And you know what happened? The fear did not vanish in a single day. It did not disappear after one brave attempt. But each time I confronted it, it grew smaller. Each time I looked it in the eye, I realized it was only an illusion, only a shadow. And this is what I want you to remember. Every time you face your fear, you rob it of strength. Every time you avoid it, you give it more power. Take, for example, a young man I once taught. He was terrified of talking to people not only on a stage, but even in everyday conversations. His fear of rejection kept him silent, alone, and miserable. When he first came to me, he said, "Mr. Carnegie, I can't do it. I cannot look people in the eye. I'm afraid I'll stumble. I'm afraid I'll make a fool of myself." Do you know what I told him? I said, "Then let us not begin with an audience of 100. Let us begin with 1. Speak to 1 person. Face 1 conversation. Tomorrow, face 2. Next week, face a small group." And slowly, day by day, he faced his fear instead of avoiding it. Within a year, he was standing on a platform, speaking with such confidence that no one could imagine he had once been paralyzed by fear. Here is the truth. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the decision to act in spite of fear. You cannot wait for fear to vanish before you move forward, because it never will. The only way to reduce it is to face it. So here is what I challenge you to do. Write down 1 fear that has held you back. Do not choose something vague like "I'm afraid of life." Number, be specific. Perhaps you fear speaking your opinion. Perhaps you fear trying something new. Perhaps you fear leaving a job that drains you. Whatever it is, write it down. Then take 1 small step toward it this very week. Do not wait for courage to arrive. Courage is not a gift that falls from the sky. Courage is born the moment you act while afraid. And every time you act, the fear weakens until one day you look back and realize it no longer controls you. I know this because I have lived it. I know this because I have watched thousands of men and women transform their lives by simply facing what once terrified them. Fear is like a shadow. It disappears the moment you turn and face the light. Never forget this. The first and most important step to freedom from fear is to stop running. Face it. Even if your voice shakes, even if your knees tremble, step toward it. Action is the death of fear. If fear is a prison, then worry is the warden that keeps you locked inside. I have met more people destroyed by worry than by sickness, poverty, or failure itself. Worry is a slow poison. It drains your strength, it clouds your mind, and it makes you live every day in the shadow of disasters that may never come. But here is the lesson I want you to carry with you. Most of the things you worry about will never happen. That is not my opinion. It is a fact proven again and again. I once read a study that showed more than 90% of our fears never come true. And of the few that do, most are not nearly as devastating as we imagine. Think about that for a moment. Imagine a person who lies awake at night, sweating, restless, heart pounding because he fears losing his job. He replays in his mind every possible scenario. Being fired, going broke, losing his family. The fear consumes him. Yet weeks pass, months pass, and nothing happens. He wasted hours, days, even years, torturing himself over events that never came. I have seen businessmen, mothers, students, people of every background chained to their worries. But I have also seen the transformation that happens when a man or woman learns to master worry instead of being mastered by it. And this mastery begins with one simple principle: live in day-tight compartments. What does that mean? It means closing the doors of yesterday and tomorrow and living fully in today. You cannot change the past. You cannot control the future. But you can decide how to spend this very day. If you focus your energy here and now, worry loses much of its grip. Let me share a story. A young woman once came to me, trembling with anxiety. She worried about her health, her finances, her relationships, everything. Her mind never stopped racing. I told her, for 1 week, I want you to write down every single worry that crosses your mind. And then I want you to test it. Ask yourself, is this something I can control today? If yes, act on it. If no, release it and move forward. At first, she resisted. She thought the exercise was too simple. But she tried. And at the end of the week, she returned with tears in her eyes. She said, "Mr. Carnegie, I realized that most of my worries were nothing but shadows. They were not real. And the ones that were real became smaller once I took action." That is the power of controlling worry. You must treat it like an enemy because island worry steals the joy of your present without giving you any power over your future. It is like paying interest on a debt you do not even owe. So here is what I urge you to do. When a worry enters your mind, pause and interrogate it. Ask, what is the very worst that can happen? Write it down, face it, accept it. And then ask, what can I do right now to improve upon that outcome? Once you do this, you will find that your mind calms, your fear shrinks, and your strength returns. You see, worry feeds on vagueness. It thrives in the fog of uncertainty. But once you name it, once you define it, once you accept the worst, it loses its power. You are no longer at its mercy. I have taught this principle to thousands of men and women, and I have seen miracles. Businessmen saved from nervous breakdown, mothers freed from years of anxiety, students who discovered peace in the midst of exams. The principle is simple, but do not let its simplicity deceive you. It can transform your life. Never forget this. Fear may come suddenly, but worry is a habit. And like any habit, it can be broken. Do not let your mind be a slave to endless what-ifs. Face them, test them, and then act. When you live in day-tight compartments, when you focus only on what is real and what can be done today, you rob worry of its fangs. I have lived long enough to know this. The man who conquers worry conquers half of fear itself. If you can master the habit of worry, you will walk through life with more energy, more clarity, and more courage than 90% of people. So make this your practice. Whenever worry whispers in your ear, answer it with action, with focus, with presence. Fear cannot survive in a mind that is disciplined to live one day at a time. When I was a young man, I believed that confidence was something you either had or you didn't. I thought some people were born bold, while others were destined to remain timid. But years of teaching and watching men and women grow have taught me the truth. Confidence is not a gift of birth, it is the reward of action. Confidence is built brick by brick through what you do. Not what you think, not what you hope, not what you dream, but what you actually do. I remember the first time I stepped onto a platform to speak. My heart thundered so loud I thought the audience could hear it. My hands shook, my voice trembled, and my mind screamed at me to run. I felt anything but confident. But here's the secret I discovered. The only cure for that fear was to act again and again and again. Each speech, no matter how small, was another brick laid in the foundation of my confidence. People often tell me, Mr. Carnegie, I will act once I feel confident. And I tell them, you have it backwards. You will feel confident only after you act. Waiting for courage is like waiting for a train at a station where no train ever arrives. You cannot wait for the perfect moment. You must create it through movement. Think of a swimmer. He may fear the cold water, but the longer he stands on the shore, the more frightening it becomes. Yet the instant he dives in, his body adjusts, his fear shrinks. The only way to feel ready is to begin. One of my students, a young salesman, once confessed to me that he dreaded making phone calls. He would sit at his desk for hours, staring at the telephone, paralyzed. His business was failing, his confidence collapsing. I told him, pick up the phone, make one call. Do not think about 100 calls. Do not think about the outcome. Just act once. He did. And by the end of that week, he had made dozens of calls. His fear had not disappeared entirely, but it had shrunk to half its size. Within months, he became one of the most successful men in his company. That is the power of action. Each step you take proves to your mind that you are capable. Each small victory becomes evidence that you can handle the next challenge. Confidence is nothing more than accumulated proof. So, here is what I want you to practice. Choose one area in your life where fear has held you back. Do not wait until you feel bold. Act now. If you fear speaking, say one sentence in a meeting. If you fear rejection, start one conversation. If you fear failure, take one step toward the dream you have been postponing. Do not despise small beginnings. Confidence grows like a muscle through repeated use. Every repetition makes it stronger. And like a muscle, it will not grow if you do nothing but think about exercise. Let me warn you. Fear will whisper excuses. It will tell you that today is not the right time, that you must prepare more, that tomorrow will be easier. But tomorrow never comes. The perfect moment never arrives. Action is the only medicine for fear, and the sooner you take it, the sooner you will heal. In my years of teaching, I have seen men transformed entirely by this principle. Shy clerks became commanding speakers, timid students became leaders, fearful workers became bold entrepreneurs. None of them waited for confidence. They acted and confidence followed like a faithful servant. So never forget this truth. Action breeds confidence. Inaction breeds doubt. The more you delay, the weaker you feel. The more you move, the stronger you become. If you desire to conquer fear, then step boldly. Even if your knees shake, take action while afraid. Each step is a victory, and each victory builds the confidence that will carry you further than you ever dreamed possible. Many people believe fear is only an enemy. They see it as a monster that must be destroyed, a curse that must be erased. But I want you to look at fear in another way. Fear, if you understand it, can become your greatest source of energy. The very thing that once paralyzed you can be transformed into fuel that drives you forward. Think of the moments in your life when you felt most alive. Chances are they were moments of risk. Perhaps you stood on the edge of a stage, about to give a speech. Perhaps you were about to ask someone you loved an important question. Perhaps you were about to leap into an opportunity that could change everything. What did you feel in your body? Your heart raced, your palms sweated, your breath quickened. It felt like fear, but in truth it was energy. You see, fear and excitement are close relatives. The body does not know the difference. The same pounding heart, the same adrenaline, the same surge of energy can be labeled fear or excitement, depending on how your mind interprets it. And that is where your power lies, in interpretation. I remember one of my students, a timid man who dreaded speaking to others. Each time he stood before an audience, he felt the familiar signs: dry mouth, trembling hands, rapid heartbeat. He told me, "Mr. Carnegie, I cannot control my body. It betrays me every time." And I said to him, "What if your body is not betraying you? What if it is preparing you?" That pounding heart means more blood is rushing to your brain. Those trembling hands mean energy is coursing through your muscles. You are not dying, you are being prepared to perform. From that day forward, he changed his interpretation. Instead of saying, "I am afraid," he began saying, "I am excited." And little by little, his fear transformed into motivation. I want you to try this in your own life. The next time fear rises in you, pause. Do not call it fear. Call it preparation. Tell yourself, "This is my body gathering energy. This is my spirit sharpening itself for action." Feel the adrenaline not as chains, but as fuel. You will be amazed at how quickly your mind shifts when you change the label. Another story comes to mind. A young woman once confessed to me that she dreamed of starting her own business, but she was terrified. Every time she thought about it, her stomach knotted and her chest tightened. For years, she said no to her dream because she interpreted these sensations as warnings of danger. I told her, what if those sensations are not warnings, but invitations? What if the very fear you feel is proof that this is important, proof that this is your path? She took the leap. And in the first year, she stumbled, she faced challenges, she made mistakes, but she also built something that gave her life meaning. And every time fear rose in her again, she smiled and said, "This is energy. This is my fuel." Now, let me be clear. I am not telling you to love fear in its destructive form. I am not asking you to enjoy panic or to celebrate sleepless nights. What I am saying is that fear is raw power. If you run from it, it poisons you. If you harness it, it strengthens you. So here's the principle. Use fear as a compass. The things you fear most are often the things you most need to do. Fear points to growth. Fear highlights opportunity. Fear reveals the very doors you are meant to walk through. I once heard a man say, "Do the thing you fear, and the death of fear is certain." But I will add this. Do the thing you fear, and you will also find new strength, new energy, and new life. Fear is not only conquered by action, it is converted by action. Here is a practice you can use. The next time fear appears, do not flee. Instead, write down what you feel in your body. Notice your breath, your heartbeat, your tension. Then ask yourself, how could these sensations serve me? How could this extra blood, this sharpened focus, this rush of adrenaline help me? And then act. Step into the moment. The truth is this. Every great achievement in history was done by men and women who felt fear. The difference is they did not let fear paralyze them. They transformed it into courage, into energy, into fuel. That is what you must do. So never again say, I am afraid. Instead, say, I am alive. My body is preparing me. My energy is rising. Let fear remind you of what matters. Let it guide you toward the very places where your growth lies. And above all, let it push you forward, not backward. Fear can be your master, or fear can be your servant. The choice is yours. If you choose to harness it, to redirect its energy into action, then fear becomes not a prison, but a source of strength. From this day on, make fear your ally. Let it drive you, fuel you, and push you to live more boldly than ever before. I have spent my life teaching men and women how to deal with fear, worry, and doubt. I have seen fear destroy more dreams than failure ever could. And I have also seen people rise above it, and in doing so, discover a freedom they never imagined possible. That is the reward waiting for you if you choose this path, the freedom beyond fear. What does freedom from fear look like? It does not mean you will never feel afraid again. Fear is part of being human. But freedom means fear no longer dictates your decisions. It no longer keeps you awake at night. It no longer holds the keys to your future. Instead of being your master, fear becomes your messenger, a signal that you are on the edge of growth. Picture this. A man who once trembled at the thought of speaking in public now stands before thousands, calm and steady. A woman who once worried herself sick over every small detail now sleeps peacefully because she has learned to live one day at a time. A young student who once avoided every risk now leaps into opportunities with courage. That is what happens when you no longer let fear rule you. The freedom beyond fear feels like clarity. You see opportunities where others see obstacles. It feels like energy. You wake up each morning ready to act, instead of lying in bed weighed down by worry. It feels like peace. Your mind is no longer a battlefield of what if, but a place of focus and strength. I want you to understand something important. Freedom from fear does not come by reading words alone. It comes through practice, through repetition, through action. Every time you face fear, every time you master worry, every time you take action despite trembling hands, you are walking the path of freedom. One man once told me, Mr. Carnegie, I want to live without fear. And I replied, that is not possible. But you can live without being enslaved by fear. The difference is everything. To live without fear at all is impossible. But to live with fear under your feet, that is freedom. Let me remind you of the steps we have taken together. First, you learn to face your fears instead of running from them. Then, you discovered how to control worry, to live in day-tight compartments. Next, you build confidence through action, proving to yourself that you are capable. You transformed fear into motivation, harnessing its energy to push you forward. And now, you stand at the final step, living with freedom beyond fear. What does this require of you? It requires a decision, a firm, final decision, that fear will not decide your future. Not tomorrow, not next week, but today, right now. You must decide that From this day forward, fear will not write your story. I cannot make that decision for you. No teacher, no mentor, no book can. It must come from you. But once you decide, you will feel something remarkable. A weight will lift, your path will become clearer, and you will realize that most of the chains you carried were only illusions, broken the moment you chose to act. Let me tell you one last story. A man once paralyzed by fear of failure decided to launch his dream project anyway. He told me later I was terrified, but I asked myself, what is worse, to fail and learn, or to live my whole life wondering what might have been? That question freed him. He acted. He stumbled at first, but he grew stronger, wiser, and more alive than ever before. That is freedom. Not the absence of mistakes, but the courage to live fully in spite of them. My friend, your time is short. Life is too precious to waste locked in fear. Every day you hesitate, you hand fear another victory. But every day you act, you claim back your freedom. The choice is always before you. Retreat into worry or rise into courage. So I say to you, begin now. Face your fears, master your worry, act boldly, and transform your fear into energy. If you do, you will discover the great reward waiting for all who dare a life lived in freedom, strength, and peace. This is not theory. This is truth I have seen proven in the lives of thousands. It can be true for you as well, but only if you begin. Not tomorrow, not next week, now. And when you begin, when you take that step into freedom beyond fear, you will look back one day and say, that was the turning point. That was the moment I stopped being ruled by fear and started living. And that, my friend, will be the day you truly begin to live.